It's my turn to piss off some Star Wars people. That's right, I'm here to piss off some Star Wars people because I'm not a YouTuber until I make a Star Wars video, and I thought this one was just funny. And we're going to start with a Deadline article before we go into bounding. But secret Star Wars film from Damon Lindelof and Lucasfilm sets Miss Marvel's Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy as director. Sets exclusive following months of speculation. Deadline is now hearing from several sources close to the project that not only is Damon Lindelof developing a new Star Wars film for Lucasfilm, but that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy has been set as director. Lindelof is co-writing the project, though it's unknown at this time who his writing partner might be. Insiders say the script is still being written, which means production is likely far out. That said, sources added it was important to Lucasfilm and Lindelof that a director be brought on so that person's own vision for where they see this story headed gets included in the script. Lucasfilm and reps for Obaid-Chinoy could not be reached for comment. Lucasfilm and reps. As of what the film is actually focused on, that will remain under wraps, as this project remains one of more guarded secrets in all of Hollywood. As for when we will see this film, while it still seems a ways off, we're not seeing a Star Wars film in years, and there's no anticipation for a franchise that's dead. Let's be real. Star Wars is dead. Disney Star Wars is dead. Star Wars period is dead. Nobody cares anymore because you killed it. The feeling is given how proactive execs, I cannot speak, were in finding a director for this film. That this Star Wars feature seems to have the most momentum out of all the films currently in development at the studio. 2019 Star Wars episode, that was The Rise of Skywalker. I'm Ray Skywalker. Was the last film to bow in theaters, with the studio focusing on its TV projects over recent years since then. That said, they have a number of films in development, including this one, and Lucasfilm has been pretty clear they want to make sure that the next series of films has a story they are happy with and don't see a need to rush out that next franchise. Oh, was that a run-on sentence? Oh my god, that was one massive run-on sentence. Anyways, though, yeah, they've been focusing heavily on the TV shows, which have bombed over and over and over again. The last good one, well, even looking back at it, the only reason it was good was because it was A New Hope rewritten. But that's the movies. But Boba Fett was just mediocre. I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Boba Fett was just mediocre. There was nothing impressive about Boba Fett. And let's be real, there's nothing impressive coming out of Disney films right now. Disney's Lucasfilm right now. Andor is nobody's watching it. The only people that actually care about Andor are the weirdos, but even they're not watching it. Andor is a fart in the wind. Everything has been a fart in the wind. Nobody cares. The only reason Star Wars Visions, which was supposed to be a one and done, is actually successful is because it's unique. That's it, but also it has massive Japanese pull, so. As for Obaid-Chinoy, the highly sought-after director continues to build on her strong ties with Disney after successfully directing several episodes of Miss Marvel for Marvel Studios. Miss Marvel was a failure. Nobody cared about it. And your excuse was nobody wanted to watch Obi-Wan at the same time as Miss Marvel, but Miss Marvel was a fart in the wind. Best known for directing her Oscar-winning documentary shorts Saving Face and A Girl in the River, The Prince of Forgiveness? What the hell is even that? The Oscar and Emmy-winning director also recently commented to directing Paramount's adaptation of Brilliance, which is being developed as starring vehicle for Will Smith. Oh, well, that's going to do well. Everybody loves Will Smith right now. It's not like, there was a whole thing where people kind of fell out of love for the man. Keep my wife's name out your mouth. She is repped by CAA and Fox Rothschild. Well, Disney, Bounding out of Comics, builds upon this, and a lot of this is just rehashing what was said, but they comment on Lindelof and his connections to Jar Jar Abrams. It seems Disney has learned about absolutely nothing from the sheer rejection by audiences of Jar Jar Abrams overall involvement with the franchise, as the company has reportedly tapped his lost co-creator Damon Lindelof to pin an upcoming cinematic entry in the Star Wars universe. This word regarding the next tale of Galaxy Far, Far Away was first broken by Deadline on October 24th, courtesy of information provided to them by several sources close to the project. Granted, I don't think this project's actually going to come out because they keep cutting more and more of their Disney Star Wars stuff. I believe the Patty Jenkins movie has been shelved, if not completely destroyed. The person who was the personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, I don't know what's happening with her movie. And Disney Star Wars is dead. They keep shutting down movies. We have no sight of an actual Star Wars movie coming out anytime soon. And every time it gets closer to one, they're like, we're going to either pull it back or we're shelving it. The TV shows are all we're getting, and the TV shows are unloved. They are unliked. Nobody cares about them. Andor is a fart in the wind. According to said sources, Lindelof is co-writing the project, though it's unknown as this time who his writing partner might be, and so as such, the script is still being written, which means production is likely far out. Meanwhile, the as of yet unofficially announced Star Wars project will be helmed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. I'm probably butchering her name. In her second Disney outing following her time as one of the four directors of Miss Marvel's first season. How do you have 4 directors? Seriously, how do you have 4 directors? Interestingly, Deadline were reportedly also informed that it was important to Lucasfilm and Lindelof that a director be brought on so that person's own vision for where they see the story headed gets included in the script. However, and Bounding takes this in a interesting way, but I honestly don't mind that idea. That way they can, hey, I'm the director. I want this to happen. I want this to happen. You're the writer. I don't know how it's going to come out. Let's be real. This movie isn't coming out. This movie's dead on arrival. Everything from Star Wars is dead on arrival. It gets 3 episodes where 3 weeks of the fans go like, yeah! And then it drops off because nobody cares. It's over and over and over again. However, what this soup of postmodern sentiment actually means in regards to the film's production, does this imply they wanted someone to ensure the story was headed in a more diverse and equitable direction? Or maybe that they cannot trust Lindelof to write a cohesive story presently remains unclear. And it's possible for this one, but I think it's more along the lines of they don't trust him to write a cohesive story, to be fair. Because they end up going into some of Lindelof's creations, and let's just be fair, only one of them I actually liked. And that's because I was a Star Wars fan, not a Star Trek fan. I like Star Trek, but I'm a Star Wars fan, not a Star Trek fan. And that's an important separation of one of the things he created that I liked. Well, co-created. As of writing, outside of Lindelof and Obaid-Chinoy's attachment, no other details surrounding the project have even been hinted at. Further, Deadline was unable to reach either Lucasfilm or reps of Obaid-Chinoy for comment on the news. In addition to having worked on... And this is when they go into Lindelof's creations. I don't like Lost. You're only as good as your start. But in addition to having worked with Abrams on Lost, Lindelof was also his partner in crime on the first two films in the former's Star Trek cinematic reboot series. I will be perfectly honest with everybody. I liked the first Star Trek remake. But that's because I was a Star Wars fan, not a Star Trek fan. In terms of a Star Trek movie, it was not a Star Trek movie. It was an action movie. Star Trek is a very philosophical and moral and very deep series that the first movie failed at. So from the Star Trek perspective, it was not that great. And I can concede that. Everybody likes crappy movies. I like that movie just because it's an action movie. It's not a Star Trek movie. From there, he's not only served as writer for such films as Disney's Tomorrowland, which I believe was a flop. I don't remember much about it. I remember it came and it went. And Blumhouse Productions' The Hunt, which I know nothing about. But also perhaps most notably, and I remember this one because I watched it all, and this is when I started taking note of, if I quit watching it out of the blue, that means I kind of hate it. And that's where this all started finally clicking. Perhaps most notably and most disastrously, as the creator, showrunner, writer, and executive producer of HBO's one season and done live-action Watchmen series. That show was crap. All the cops are KKK members now. Everybody's racist. And the thing that nobody ever... They don't ever touch on again is a extremely old dude in a wheelchair who turned out to be gay, by the way, was able to lynch a man all by himself and pull him entirely over a tree. They go like, oh, I'll tell you how I did this, but they never go into how he did it. So what? That show was a disaster. That show was crap, and they ruined Dr. I can't remember. They just ruined him. Why am I blanking on this character's name? I don't know, but they ruined him. A man who shouldn't be able to die was killed. Unfortunately, though, uninspiringly, Lindelof is also an ardent Abrams mystery box writing style, a style which has become so prevalent in recent years as to spell the death of a storytelling altogether. Yeah, remember our last mystery box style story? Oh, I'm pretty sure we do, because I hated it. Rings of Power. Oh, who's Sauron? Definitely not Halbrand, you know. It's definitely these other people. It's definitely that young boy who isn't in fact half elf, you know. It's definitely him. Oh, maybe it's somebody who else. No, it's definitely not the weird man on the raft who said looks can be deceiving. I brought this decades ago, but if you look at this, you'll see it's never been opened, ever. Abrams described during 2007 TED Talk of a childhood toy he chose to never remove from its packaging. Why have I not opened this, and why have I kept it? It represents infinite possibilities. He continued, it represents hope. It represents potential. What I love about this box, And what I realized I sort of do, in whatever it is that I do. What the hell does that even mean? Is I find myself drawn to infinite possibilities, and that seems a sense of potential. Yeah, you can do mystery box correctly if the mystery ends up being super interesting and not seen from a mile away, and also you set up what the mystery is properly. But you fail at mystery box storytelling. It's utter shit. And also mystery box storytelling only really works in mysteries. Nothing else. If you always have a mystery and it's very easy to predict what the mystery is, it's a failure. And I realized that that mystery is the catalyst for imagination. He eventually affirmed, what are stories besides mystery boxes? No. Definitely not. Definitely not. I see what he's trying to say, but no, you're writing shit. To this end, while reflecting on his time working on Lost during 2019 interview with The Independent, Lindelof confirmed, I don't know what I learned from Lost. Nobody does. Lost never ended. We know nothing about what the heck Lost ended up being, so it's why even go back to it? You don't know what the island is. You don't know what the ghost monster is. You don't know why there was a polar bear there. I guess that the takeaway from Lost is that I am unapologetic about the fact that I'm fascinated by ambiguity and questions that will never be answered, because that's what life is. I get it. Okay, sometimes you don't need to answer a question. Sometimes you let the audience ponder the question, ponder certain things. That's fine. Yeah, but you made a whole series that was pointless. You had too many questions that never got answered. Ambiguity is fine, but you did it poorly. I'm just really interested in those stories, and I understand that there is an experience of frustration and dissatisfaction, but I also think that there is nobility in the exploration and the journey of these ideas, he added. Yeah, but people sometimes also want conclusions, and if all you give them is shitty conclusions and also shitty story boxes and questions that never get actually answered, and some very large questions that never get answered, all you're doing is throwing scenes on that don't mean anything. So when I read Tom Perstant's The Leftovers, whose 2014-2017 HBO adaptation was developed in partnership between the author and Lindelof, which was unapologetic in saying the single most interesting thing about the premise of this book, about 140 million people left the planet, is that we're never ever going to answer where they went, explained the writer. Well, yeah, you don't need to tell us where they went. You give us hints of maybe they went here, maybe they went there, maybe they went there, maybe they went there, but you don't do that. You just say, oh, they disappeared. Granted, I don't know what The Leftovers is. I haven't seen it. I haven't read the book. But more than likely, it was not what you created. Because from what it tells, what I'm reading here, you did it alongside the author. So he directed you as you he led you. I was like, oh my god, you don't have to answer that question? Lindelof I can't say that word. Exasperatedly exclaim. I know this one, but I don't know that one. So we're just going to move on. I found that liberating and freeing. But sometimes you do need to answer questions. Like again, haven't read this, but Mystery box storytelling and not answering certain questions is the failure of Hollywood right now. That's all you have too is mystery box, mystery box, mystery box, and that's why anybody connected to bad reboot needs to be gotten rid of, because it's constantly, oh, mystery box storytelling. Oh, I wonder what it is. I wonder what it is. It's definitely Sauron's definitely not Halbrand. Oh, it's definitely not him. It could be one of these people, but it's definitely not Halbrand. God. But back to the idea of a story of a Star Wars movie, though. Why? There's nothing there. You guys have sufficiently killed the story. You killed the franchise. Nobody cares. And I should have done this beforehand. But when I come to Bounding into Comics, ignore that. There was this very interesting article that I didn't read or do, but Disney Star Wars declared a dead brand after Andor premiere ratings revealed by Nielsen's. Like, it's shit. It's literally shit right now. And I get it. I went somewhere else with this and maybe a little discombobulated ending of this video, but nobody cares about Disney Star Wars. You get your stands to come out for roughly 3 weeks. They go like, oh, it's so great, it's so great, it's so great. And then the next thing comes out, oh, it's so great, it's so great, it's the bestest thing ever. Just like every stand does. Just like the Marvel stands. They come out and say it's the greatest thing since the last thing. And the next thing will be better than that. The same people are doing it for Star Wars, but nobody's actually watching Star Wars. So if a movie comes out, who really gives a care? Who really cares? Who really gives a fuck? Similarly, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to see it, does it make a sound? That's pretty much it. That's where we're at. And with that, guys, leave your comments and your thoughts then about this new possible Star Wars movie penned by David Lindelof down in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell for every time I put out a new video and go live. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.